Hagerty is the world's largest provider of specialty insurance for enthusiast vehicles and supports keeping car culture alive through youth programs, the Historic Vehicle Association, the RPM Foundation, and more. Hagerty is home to key programs such as the Hagerty Drivers Club, Hagerty Drive Share, Hagerty Valuation Tools, the Hagerty Drivers Club magazine, and much, much more. For more information, visit their website at Hagerty.com. PCA Sim Racing is proud to have Hagerty Motorsports as its 2021 title sponsor.
Well, the Nurburgring has been nicknamed the Green Hell by the legendary Sir Jackie Stewart. Virginia International Raceway has gained its own reputation as being a long, winding, and difficult circuit. As such, some have referred to it as the mini Green Hell. And considering how many fast and blind corners dot this venue, it's no wonder. Let's see if the drivers can handle the Appalachians as well as they did the Eifel Mountains as we get ready to watch Event 6 of Series 7 of PCA Sim Racing presented by Hagerty Motorsports. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth tonight is DJ Clark. Taylor Burris and Rachel Whiteford are reporting from pit lane. And up in the booth, we have Eric Messer on social media and Ryan Bauer producing, who is using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. As always, the PCA Sim Racing Series is brought to you by Hagerty. Since 1984, Hagerty has been the worldwide leader in collector car insurance. Everything they do is geared towards enabling and enhancing the experience of automotive enthusiasts and making sure that the vehicles we all love, the lifestyles that revolve around them, don't just survive, but thrive well into the future. Services include the Hagerty Drivers Club, Drive Share by Hagerty, the shop, and much, much more to fuel car culture. Hagerty, let's drive together. Now, with us showing up at VIR, it's a track that might not be as famous as some of the other road courses here in the States, but it certainly deserves some recognition, so let's head to our track guide presented by GSRC. Welcome to Watkins Glen International, situated in upstate Welcome to Virginia International Raceway. This track near the southern border of its namesake has had the rare blessing of being resurrected from the dead. With 2 decades of use in its modern incarnation and still drawing regular visits from IMSA and Trans Am, it's safe to say that VIR is back and thriving. The owners didn't skimp on refurbishing the place either. An impressive 7 versions are available to run on iRacing, with viewing areas that include posh villas near South Bend that can be rented by fans. The track's long and complex layout has earned it some colorful corner names too. The horseshoe kicks things off right away with a never-ending double apexer that tends to suck the greedy out into its runoff. Later on, fast cars lacking downforce are sent through the terrifying climbing S's and spit out of the steep drop of South Bend. Of course, there's perhaps the most famous turn of Oak Tree, which has sadly lost its eponymous flora in real life, but is retained here in the virtual world. Let's not forget one of the scariest obstacles at the end of the lap, the roller coaster. The incredible speed drivers carry up into this blind braking zone is what causes it to require such immense bravery in order to get the most out of a lap. As you'd expect, the high number of corners makes passing rather difficult. Add in the fact that many of them are dangerously swift, and track position can wind up being a major factor in races. With the picturesque backdrop of the Appalachians around them, fans are not left wanting when they come to watch drivers face off at this historic track. It's no wonder the circuit has found success in its second chance at life. Our report director was so distraught by the lack of oak tree in the real world, we had to send him out of the room while we got the right track guide going there. But DJ, it may not share some of the features that they've got updated in the real world. This is still going to be a very tough one for these GT3 cars.
It most certainly is, Joe, and it is a place where there's not going to be a whole lot of opportunities to get past. The only real two good chances to get an overtaking move done, well, that's going into the first corner of Horseshoe, and then at the end of the long back straight going into Roller Coaster. But even those two areas, it's not a surefire thing to get a move done. And especially with as many tricky areas as there are around here, really this whole first sector coming out of Horseshoe through NASCAR Bend and the left hook up through the Snake and all the way up through South Bend. It is absolutely brutal on these cars. It's a lot of brush braking, just trying to get that corner exactly right before you move it on up the way. It is a real driver's course out here. You're going to see a lot of drivers trying to push a little bit, and the truth about VIR is if you push, that's a one-way ticket into the grass that surrounds this entire circuit.
So as we watch the drivers here in qualifying, most have got their laps in. They've got just a few minutes left. Garrett Taylor has the provisional pole, checking through to see if anybody is on their second lap. And I do see Freddie Lopez in 23rd trying to come down the backstretch right now. And this is Chris Pippen as well, yet to set a time. This is the second one here, so this is going to be important as Chris is heading to the finish line. First lap got deleted. Second one will be a 48.5, and that will actually bump him up into 8th place. So a nice recovery.
Yeah, good one there for him. Another driver who hasn't set a time yet, Gordon Wardle. We ride on board with him right here. This is his first lap out. Now, this is him working his way through that tricky S's that we had talked about, Joe. Coming now back out of that final corner, the long blast here.
Absolutely. And Wardle across the line gets a 48.8 on the board. He's got enough time for a second one still. But just barely, as they do take about a minute 40-some to try and get around here, and he's got a little over 2 minutes left. We watch Wardle down into NASCAR Bend, difficult braking into here, and then things suddenly slow up, but it's one of the few slow corners around this track.
Yeah, it's one of the few heavy braking zones that really exist here, Joe, and that's why it makes for such a good opportunity to overtake. But outside of that, this entire first sector, as I talked about, working his way through right now, coming up through this tricky Snake section. Every corner just kind of decreases in radius a little bit, gets a little bit tighter. You can see that car just dancing as it goes across the curves.
Now up into Oak Tree, which, as you can see, we've mentioned it's no longer there in the real world, but they are trying to bring that back. We'll talk about that with Rachel more later as we come down the backstretch now. The number 2, going to see if he can improve on this second one around. And it looks like we're going to run out of time for Gordon, unfortunately. So as our grid is set, it is time to now, of course, head over to some of our pit reporters in the meantime. And we mentioned Rachel and the Oak Tree a little bit earlier. Rachel, it's really one of the biggest talking points about this track. So many fans are actually genuinely sad that it's gone, me amongst them. What's the current situation on that?
Well, it's so missed. They're actually bringing it back. It was actually cut down by accident. It fell in a storm, I think was the actual answer there, and they removed it for safety reasons. It was down. An iconic part of this track, and in fact, it's so iconic it's the corner's name. But they are bringing it back. They're going to be replacing that tree with a new one, and every new tree planted, of course, is a great thing. So that is a plus for the environment as well. And we mentioned, of course, this is known as the Green Hell of the United States. We come from the Nurburgring last week to here, what is often referred to as the American Nurburgring. And it is an incredibly green track, an incredibly grassy track. There's not much runoff here. You go off the asphalt and you are in a world of hi, here's the barrier. Now, these drivers will have a real challenge with this, but you say if you push, you will go wide and you'll end up off the track. Yeah, this is not a Tilke-drome like we had on the GP track for the Nürburgring. This is very much a driver's track, and you go wide here. There's no asphalt to save you. There's no gravel traps. There's no sand pits. You're on an express ride, and won't be tired if you do that in the roller coaster section towards the end, because you're going somewhere you will not come back from.
And there's so many high-speed portions where, yeah, it's likely you're going for a long trip there in that slippery grass. And we're just waiting for the warm-up to finish up now. And DJ, thankfully the warm-up could be used by a few of the tires because relatively cool temperatures on the surface today.
Yeah, it's only 70 degrees out here, Joe, and that means that it may take a little bit for these tires to heat up. Drivers are going to have to be careful of that going through the orange zone, the beginning sectors of this lap, and I think it will cause a little bit of rethink about an aggressive move going down into turn one. My guess is that we'll see them start to come up to temperature about the time we get through Oak Tree. A lot of lateral load being put into the tires as they come through the snake portion of the track, and so that may get enough build up to see a pass or two get made into roller coaster, but drivers are going to have to be careful. Thankfully though, not a lot of wind out here, so they don't really have to worry about the cars buffeting a lot, although it won't really help the slipstream all that much.
All right, so as we continue to watch them get that last little bit of practice in, let's head over to Taylor. And Taylor, going from the Nürburgring to here, it's two very different challenges, although both will certainly be testing the drivers. But knowing what we know about who has performed well in the previous weeks, is there anybody that's got your eye for the mini Green Hell today?
Well, of course, it's none other than one of our top drivers this season. It's going to be Garrett Taylor. He has been on an absolute roll with battling and winning at a majority of the races that he's entered so far this season. One thing, though, that he's going to have to learn a little bit is the difference of elevation changes. This track is so precise with its elevation changes. You're at the top of the roller coaster trying to set up the corner with how off camber some of this track is. It's going to be very important for him to negotiate. And due to the fact of how difficult it can be, some of these drivers may be slowing down. So we could see some lap traffic involved to where Garrett Taylor will have to negotiate properly during this race. So keep an eye and see how he's able to negotiate, where he sets up his passes in order to make it through this American version of the Green Hell.
So he's coming down up towards turn one there, and actually hasn't put a time in yet here in this warm-up session, but they are not required to. Still, we saw how quick he was both in the practice and in that qualifying session. And now we head off, of course, to our sponsor, which is Z1 Dashboard. With each new upgrade of the Z1 Dashboard software, it gets better and more feature-rich, and version 2021.3 is no exception. The Z1 Designer lets you create your own custom displays for use with the Z1 Dashboard. So in addition to the almost 200 standard items, you can add your own custom designs and place the data you want exactly where you want it. Remember, the Z1 Dashboard also takes care of the engineering and strategy for you and helps make sure you are maximizing your on-track performance. To find out more, visit z1dashboard.com. This, of course, also takes us to our qualifying. Grid is set, and as we mentioned, Garrett Taylor on the pole here today, and Mark Lacombe starting from the outside, going to try and deny him on that. Adam Spence will be in P3, followed by Drew Kenny in 4th. It is Tripp Starkey starting P5 and Kim Frick in 6th. Then it's Frederick Chin in 7th. To his outside, it'll be Chris Pippin. Scott Rogers starts 9th, and David Krutzler in 10th.
Starting off in 11th, we were following him on his qualifying laps. It's Gordon Wardle. Behind him, it'll be Greg Palmer, followed by Andrew Smiley and Patrick Adamczyk in 14th. Chris Ramirez will line up in 15th, followed by David Kaufman with Jeff Lashaway and Thomas Briggs in 17th and 18th. 19th is Jack Stevenson and Craig Smith will round out your top 20.
In 21st today, it is Bruce Roby and Robert Benson will start 22nd. Then it's David Purdy, P23. Abraham Jones starts 24th. He'll have Freddie Lopez on the row behind at 25th. We've got Andrew Mccune in 26th. And the last driver to set a time is Robert Gordon. And Scott Kessel, Hector Garcia, and Albert Ubieta will start at the back of the fields. So we come down for a full pace lap around here, which does give us time to talk about, honestly, one of my favorite stories about this track, and that is the story behind the name of NASCAR Bend, which is almost essentially the wall of champions here for the United States. The reason they call it NASCAR Bend is because NASCAR actually used to race here. Well, guys like Petty and Allison had found themselves off and into the barrier at that corner. It was just that tough. Big names like that, unfortunately, unable to navigate it, so it got dubbed NASCAR Bend. And if you think guys who can win 200 NASCAR races can't make it through there, this is going to be mighty difficult for drivers of the amateur variety tonight, which is not to denigrate their skills, but they're going to be up against it for sure.
Yeah, they certainly are, Joe. This is a track that is really going to catch people out, and I anticipate a lot of the mental games that we always like to talk about here. A lot of drivers, if they're not going to be able to get a good pass done, watch for them to just try to press their advantage a little bit, keep close behind the driver in front of them, and see if they can force a mistake through some of the trickier portions of this Virginia International Circuit.
Coming up through the climbing S's now up to South Bend. And this is another one of those spots where we talked about that runoff. There's so many places where it's just an open field essentially, and there's gobs of grass to the outside that'll collect the car, and you won't hit anything, but you're going to lose a lot of time trying to get it back onto the track. It looks like we unfortunately have missed Drew Kenny at the grid up, so he is going to have to start from the pit lane for this race. And considering how difficult some of the passing zones are to try and get those overtake done, DJ, that's not the kind of news he was looking for.
Yeah, I am not envious of Drew Kenny's position out here. He is going to be starting in the back, and he's going to find it very difficult, I think, to move his way forward. So he is going to have it all worked out for him tonight, as drivers now still waiting behind that Porsche pace car as they work their way on the long back straight here, leading their way towards roller coaster.
So we're just about ready to go. Before we get to there, Rachel, you're usually Miss Facts here. Is there anything special you got for this one? Give us a little tidbit before we go racing.
Well, I've got quite a few things, but here's one. Most racetracks have long storied histories, but this one didn't exist between 1974 and 2000. It opened, closed for nearly a quarter century, and then reopened. More on that later.
Yeah, that one always struck me as an interesting one, and I'm curious to see if you got anything that I've missed on that one, because I always love learning new facts about unique tracks like this one. But let's see what the drivers can learn about going fast here as the pace car is in. Garrett Taylor is waiting for the green flag, and it is out. He's on it, but it's not the greatest of starts. Mark Mccune already up to his outside as they come down to the braking for the horseshoe. Can he get this pass done into the first turn? No, he brakes a little bit early down to his inside. Spence takes a look. We got a car spinning off, two of them out into the grass already. Everybody behind checking up, and it looks like the rest of the field is going to be safely through.
Yeah, and those two drivers that were off were Krutzler and Scott Rogers. Them finding themselves. Oh, that's the leader off!
Taylor is off the course. Gordon Wardle also spun out of NASCAR Bend. Mccune inherits the lead as Spence is going to slot into second behind him.
Goodness gracious, Joe, I said this was going to be tricky for these drivers, but I did not anticipate the leader going off that quickly there through the left hook. Now everybody just trying to slot into line, getting those tires up to temperature as much as possible.
And Hector Garcia had an issue after a very good start. He gets spun around in the snake. He's going to try and get it going once again as well. Up into Oak Tree for the first time. Mark Mccune with clear track in front of him. It looks like Adam Chick has had a problem. He went off in South Bend. And the slipstream starts to come into effect. Spence slotting in behind the number 19, trying to see if he can get any closer, but it's not looking like there'll be anything for him to try for down into the roller coaster.
No, indeed, Adam Chick still having problems there, so no passing here in these couple of leading cars going into the roller coaster. We're having a lot of drivers working their way around here, just trying to hold up behind the best they can.
Completing lap 1. We certainly had some issues, but out of all those cars that got into trouble, only 2 of them found themselves on pit lane with a tow. That's at least pretty good out of 30 cars gridding up and down into the horseshoe once again. Mark Lacombe starting to stretch away. Looks like some gaining under braking for Garrett Taylor, who only fell down to 5th, or maybe a little bit lower than that, I think. But regardless, he's within the top 5 here on lap 2, and let's see if he can start making some moves.
Well, he's going to be hoping to, but he's got to stay put here for a little bit more time, as there's not going to be another passing zone as they work their way there through the left hook and up towards the snake now. This tricky section, we ride on board with Tripp Starkey.
Yep, under the bridge there, just ahead of Garrett Taylor. He's chasing Frick. This is for 3rd position, just on the bottom step of the podium. Through South Bend, everybody over that blind corner, nice and tidy, and then into Oak Tree. Such a critical turn for your lap time, trying to get as much of a launch as you can down this long and hilly back stretch. And for Frick, it does not look too good. Spence is pulling away.
Yes, indeed, Adam Spence is. We jump back here right on board with Abraham Jones. I can also report that Frederick Chin had an off coming up and over South Bend, so that's another car out of it. Ooh, a little bit of a bobble there for Jones.
I see Frederick Chin going down the order. Looks like he falls to 24th. That happened just before Oak Tree. So we ride on board with Abraham Jones now, chasing behind Bruce Froby into the roller coaster, and you can see how tough of a turn that is. Kinked braking entry into this downhill left-hander with a blind crest on top of it. And there's still yet more corners to try and successfully navigate before you get back to the start-finish line.
Yes, there are indeed, and you're seeing some people trying some moves here. We've got a good little battle starting to shape up in P5. Garrett Taylor trying to work his way forward, as is Tripp Starkey.
Don't need to go to it, but poor Abraham Jones, as soon as we left, he left the course. So he's fallen down to 24th now into the left hook. Still trying to see if he can work his way up back to the lead. Garrett Taylor now into 4th place. Oh, and Starkey has more trouble. Starkey is off and into the barriers.
Oh, no, Joe, and that looked like just a self-spin. Got a little bit wide there coming through. We go back to check out the replay. This is watching Tripp Starkey right now. You can see him coming out of NASCAR Bend, diving it down now into the hook. Oh, catches a little bit of the curb there, but able to keep it together. And then this is where he just loses that car. Too much speed coming in on corner entry.
And Tripp did have to take a tow back to pit lane, unfortunately. So we come back live. This is 6th place, Thomas Briggs chasing Chris Pippin. The number 22 started this race in 8th spot, up 3 actually now at this point, thanks to the issue from Starkey there, and over the roller coaster down into Hogpen. Not talked about as much, DJ, but this exit out of Hogpen, it is a pretty long stretch on that front straight, just as important.
Oh, and I think Thomas Briggs knows that well. He's going to move to the outside there of Chris Pippen as they come past that pit straightaway. On the power here, passing back by the pit exit. It's going to be harder here for Briggs to get this work around the outside, but he's going to go for it, trying to dive in late on the brakes. Not able to get it done. Now maybe looking for a little bit of a crossover.
Nope, nothing doing there. Through the kink that leads to NASCAR Bend. Briggs looks a little too far back on this one. And I think Taylor just got by Frick as well in front of them. Oh, this actually was some contact between Taylor and Frick. Kim losing control of the car and bounces off the side of the 5 car.
Yeah, Kim just got a little bit greedy with the curbing going in, and that bumped him up and off into the side of the car. So Stewards may have a little bit of a look at that. Oh, but Garrett Taylor's around.
Oh, second mistake of the day. The 5 falls down to 6th place. Is he going to be able to get it going? Looks like Smiley will get through, but there's a huge gap back to the rest of the field. The front runners have really distanced themselves. Let's take another look at it here as it comes up into the climbing S's, back and forth, changing directions constantly. And then, unfortunately, the last direction change, a little bit too wide on the entry.
Yeah, just clipped the grass there going into that left-hander of South Bend, and that sent him around. It's the second or third car we've seen do that. I also believe that we saw a little bit earlier David Krutzler make the similar error there. We now look out the back of our leader, Mark McComb. Adam Spence doing a good job keeping up behind that number 19.
But look at this. They got lap traffic in front of them, though. Kessel
sorry guys, don't mean to actually catch you there, but Garrett Taylor has just been wiped out. He was driving, and a car rejoined the 17 of Smiley and just took him out here down towards the bottom of the lap.
Oof. Well, as they come through Hogpen, yeah, there you can see just in an unfortunate spot, and that sent him into pit lane after that to get some repairs. It has been an incredibly bad day. Oh, and Thomas Briggs has another little off down into the first corner. And after that, he just now had an off in NASCAR Bend. Briggs is on quite the adventure.
Yeah, it really is, Joe, and a lot of these drivers finding the limits of the track here, and they are not finding them too terribly forgiving. We've had many, many drivers off. Robert Benson was off in the back, collected some other cars as he came around.
Man, it's been a rough start today. We've already had at least 6 cars in pit lane, and we're not supposed to have pit stops today, so... Oh, I see Andrew Mccune, the latest with an off through the snake as we come to Adam Spence. This has been a battle for the lead. Spence been within 0.3 of a second of Lacombe, but he's dropped back slightly, still keeping the pressure on.
Yeah, exactly. I think he just doesn't want to run any sort of risk out here of maybe getting too close behind Lacombe and there being an error from the driver in front of him.
So we come back to Pippen now in the 22. 3 cars in line, but only 2 of them are for position. Scott Kessel is the first one. And looks like there's been quite a bit of a mess out on the track. So the stewards are looking like they might try and do something about that. And Kim Frick just ahead of Chris Pippen for just outside of the podium. Patrick Adamczyk in the meantime down in 12th position, chasing Lashway. He's also got Craig Smith all over his rear bumper. These 3 coming back onto the front stretch themselves past the pit lane. Lashway starts to get a little bit of a gap. Adamczyk as well. Looks like a great exit from the 407.
Indeed it does. Starts to try to draw in a little bit there under braking. You can see him trying to square off that corner the best as possible, but we've got a full course yellow, Joe.
Too much debris out there, and the drivers have been told to slow up so they can get this track cleaned up. So they're all going to get bunched together, and this is a big boon to a few drivers that were much faster than their current position implies. I'm looking at Gordon Wardle, who has actually come into pit lane, and I think he's coming back out right now. And that looks like it might have been due to a penalty of some sort, because he did not stop in his pit stall. That was interesting. But they're all going to start to bunch up, and we'll see how this pans out for those that find themselves throwing a bit of a bone on this one. Sounds like we've got one of our drivers who is ready to talk to us, Abe Jones, here for interview. I think we're double check. No, apologies. Looks like we're going to have to get back to that in a little bit. So while we wait for that, Rachel, you teased us. Oh, no, looks like we do have Abe Jones ready for us now. So, and Abe Jones currently running in the 17th position out there today after starting from 24th, so has gained a little bit from this attrition here today. The 996 car will try and keep this up here as they start to catch up to the pace car here on this pace lap. So Abe Jones, it is a number of positions up, and looks like while everybody else has been having problems, you've been keeping it steady and on the road. Are you feeling pretty good?
Yeah, I'm trying to stay in the lanes, you know. This is a pretty hard track.
Are you at 9/10, or is this a full 10/10 for you that you're pushing out there?
I've been trying to do a 9/10 right now.
It sounds like a wise decision, at least to me. This track has bit me so many times. What do you think is feasible, especially now that we've got this yellow? Everything's going to get bunched back up. Do you feel like there's more positions to be gained, or does this put you under threat of losing some to those that spun?
Well, I'm actually having trouble talking and trying to catch up with the car in front of me.
All right, well, we'll try and let you go then. Again, great job so far, and best of luck.
Thank you.
It's Abraham Jones in race report from the number 996. Now we can go to Rachel to get some extra information on the period of inactivity, shall we say, for this famous track.
Yeah, absolutely. So originally this track opened in the very early 50s. In fact, it was a couple of guys with a bulldozer that created this track. 1957, in fact. So it ran from then till 1974, and it closed. It was not viable. It was not able to be kept open, so it was shut down. And in March 2020, it was reopened by New Yorker Harvey Siegel and Connie Nyholm, using the model that's become quite common around the US of a country club model, where members could buy membership to the track. And now each member of that VIR club, and this is still to this day, receives track time on member days, tickets to all various spectator events and benefits, and their membership model has been used across the United States since they did that. Now, this has allowed them to basically have a track of this scale and scope that gets used for testing, that gets used for track days by multiple manufacturers for those different track days, and by those members themselves. So it's very much a racing club in its most pure form. So if anything, it's been the club members and those people who love motorsport and historic American motorsport that has kept this place alive as a venue in American racing.
Meanwhile, sounds like we've also got some info from Taylor down on pit lane. Taylor, what's the scoop?
Well, one of the drivers who I've been watching since the start of the race, he has been avoiding all the chaos that we have been seeing. It is none other than the 777 of Freddie Chan. Those 7 numbers have been working for him pretty well, as he has been lucky to avoid it. Started in 25th, is now running inside the top 10.
All right. Loved seeing some drivers manage to use clean racing to their advantage here today. And it looks like they've finally caught up to the pace car here up at the front. And I believe we've got another in-race interview. I think it is the 130 car, Bruce Froby. See if we can connect with him here in a second. We're looking to set this one up. Double checking here, trying to see if we've got him ready to go. And looks like we have to give just another second to make sure that everything is okay before we drag him along in here. So we'll try and give that another go a little bit later in this race. Love hearing what the driver's thoughts are in the heat of the moment. Now, this is not something we see as often here on the roadside, DJ, these full course cautions, at least on iRacing. In the real world, they frequently happen, but they can only happen in leagues on here. So some of these drivers might not be as practiced about dealing with sort of the nuances with this.
Indeed, Joe, we heard a couple of drivers trying to clarify the position about pit stops, about anything like that during the course of this race. And I can tell you, I have been a part of a couple of races where you do have these full course yellows that get thrown. And the one thing that you really don't think about when you are on this level, when you're on a road course like this, is the tires. These tires are going to cool back down a little bit, and you've got to re-account for that. Normally when you're driving around here, you don't have to think about it. Well, now you do.
Good news is this is a short caution, and they should be going back to green here on this lap. I know the lights are still on the pace car, but I'm seeing information that they should be going back to green this time. So we'll watch and make sure that this is the case. They're giving a few instructions to the drivers. This is where, like you're talking about, DJ, it's important to be paying attention and being aware of what's going on. Any special instructions that you get so that you don't get caught out, so that you don't receive some sort of penalty for not obeying the rules. And let's see, here's where the pit entry is. The 19 is waiting for the pace car to peel in. And, looks like they did not quite get that one. So pace car is going to keep on going. So looks like if the lights go out this time, looks like lights are out this time. We will go back to racing this time for sure now. But this gives us more time to collect ourselves as well. Take a look at what's going on through the field of the 777. We mentioned Lopez, 25th to 9th. Fantastic job. And let's see who else has been really up the order. Andrew Mccune up from 26th to 18th. A gain of 8 spots there for him. Been really the reverse for Garrett Taylor. But I'm looking, DJ, he's still on the lead lap. He may be in 19th, but at least he doesn't have to try and at least lap the entire field back. He can try and work his way up and see what he can make of this.
Yeah, exactly. And with all of the, frankly, incidents that we've seen from these other drivers, you've got to think that he can take a little bit of a mental reset here and try to work his way forward again. The other driver that I've got my eye on, Joe, well, that is Drew Kenny in that #1 machine. You remember, he started from the pit lane here, and he has been working his way back up through the field. He's currently driving around in 14th right now, and I think this full course yellow played right into his hands. Watch for him to be a little bit aggressive. Watch for him to try to push his way forward once we get back under green.
With all the drivers that have been making contact and have been having spins, we got to remember there is a 11 incident limit before they get a drive-through penalty. And then every 5 beyond that, they get another drive-through penalty until they actually get disqualified once they hit 26. So hopefully we don't have too many drivers that have fallen victim to that. We mentioned Gordon Wardle has been in and out already. We're only on lap 8, which is a bad sign if he's already that high up into it. But at least this gives you a time to mentally reset as we hop on board with Drew Kenny, one of our drivers who has managed wins so far this season, but not looking as hot here. Started from 4th, certainly seems to have the speed, DJ, but Drew is just not on his game.
No, it just looks a little bit off here, and that's a little bit disconcerting for him. So who knows? We'll have to see what can play out here. It's still a pretty decently long race. We still have about 25 minutes to go around here, and as we've seen the VIR, Joe, just about anything can happen.
Certainly seems like it. What's the Murray Walker quote? Anything can happen in F1, and it usually does. So seems like that's the case for a PCA today. And on board with Bruce Froby there, the 130 car, who unfortunately did not get to talk to here in the break. I'm sure he'd rather be focused on the racing right now than trying to do social events and press. Let's see if the pace car is going to give us a green with those lights off, and there it goes. Yes, indeed. Mccune waiting for the wave from Barney, and the green flag is out. He's on it pretty decently, a little better than what we saw for the initial start. Spence not able to try and challenge him down into turn one. A big challenge on the inside as Stevenson sees Briggs absolutely chuck it into the horseshoe. A few drivers making big moves up into there.
Indeed, he does. Everybody relatively single file, though. Drew Kenny in the back starting to make up a few positions right now. He's going to have to try to get a move on a little bit. We ride on board with that number one machine.
Only victim was Chris Ramirez, spun out on the first corner. Not sure if he had any help with that, but the Rainbow Warrior giving us his perspective as he chases Craig Smith through the snake, and he is mighty close there. Now on our leaders as we come back now to Craig Smith, and he's thinking about too wide into the climbing S's. Thankfully, Craig Smith is backing out of it, because that could have been disaster for both of them.
Indeed, it could have. Thankful for it, Craig Smith, as you said, that he dove out of it, but that's going to move Drew Kenny up into the top 10.
Wow, Drew Kenny's wasting no time here looking for an attack on Lashway. Gets a better exit. 13 looks like he's going to be a sitting duck, and flashing his lights as he comes up to the outside of Jeff. Looks like Drew's got a good shot, and I think there was a little bit of facilitation from the 13 there.
Yeah, indeed, Joe. I think all of these drivers have a little bit of an inkling that he is coming up and coming up fast. So they are a little bit aware that Kenny's on a power move here. He now has Freddie Lopez directly ahead of him in that 777.
Ooh, and Briggs and Frick had a very close moment there as we watch Kenny now try to get the run down the front stretch, and you can see this battle between the 66 and the 4 is getting scarily close, and down into the corner, pinching him all the way to the inside of the track. Briggs will not be denied. Somehow he makes the overtake.
I have no earthly idea how he was able to do that. That pinch was absolutely insane, Joe. Almost coming together there through NASCAR Bend, and that's going to be him around. That's the 6 of Frick around.
Oh, and he made some contact. So potentially 2 positions for Drew Kenny, but no, he has to play it a little bit safe. He does get one from Jack Stevenson, who got checked up. Now he's looking for David Kaufman. Well, usually it's a case of cautions breed cautions, but right now it is cautions breed excitement.
Indeed, Joe. An absolute hornet's nest out here. You can see all the drivers working their way up and around right now. Drew Kenny catching a little bit of that curbing as they work their way. He's now got Kaufman right ahead of him.
Where did he restart this race? Because, my goodness, he's looking at the top 5 here. In fact, he's seriously looking at it, and he's in it as he gets through an oak tree. Oh, but he's a little bit too brave. Oh, and he spins off and throws away all the hard work as he's hit by the likes of David Kaufman.
Oh, tough break there for Drew Kenny as he comes back. Let's go back and check out this replay. As you said, it was a brave move going down into Oak Tree, gets that down, but just gets a little bit too much overspeed and catches that outside grass.
Well, it was good until it wasn't, to be a little bit obvious. So Drew Kenny now finds himself, how far did he fall, actually? I'm trying to find him out there, and it is looking like he is a ways down the order. In the meantime, if we want to go back to Lashway, he is in the thick of a fight. In fact, I think Adamczyk is going to be able to get by, and it looks like Craig Smith might have a good opportunity. Here's the 13 showing behind him, and it looks like the 10 not able to get close enough. Oh, in front of them, 2 cars off. That is Lopez, and I'm trying to figure out who the other one is in the wall. That's Taylor. Oh, no.
More drivers just falling afoul of this circuit. Let's check out what happens. Taylor and Lopez. Oh, that looked like Taylor just thought he had clearance and didn't, and that sent him all the way across the grass into that outside retaining wall.
Whew. This has been frantic out on the circuit as we come back live to 11th. Robert Gordon chasing a train of cars. Kaufman, Smith, Lashway. This is the ones we were watching earlier. They've spread apart slightly.
Yeah, dying down a little bit, but as we've seen, just about anything can happen. We now jump back with Scott Rogers. This is him trying to chase down Andrew Mccune right ahead of him.
Yep, through South Bend and down towards Oak Tree. This is very tight. In fact, he's willing to get aggressive, but Mccune says no through that first apex. Tries to set himself up off the second one. 23 looks decent. Rogers still going to get the slipstream, and he knows that he's immediately getting in the tire tracks of that red and silver car.
Yes, he is. Tried for a little bit of overcorrection there. We now jump back with Andrew Smiley as he's got the popcorn position to all of this right now. It looks like Rogers is trying a little bit of an alternate line. Oh, that was McCune catching a little bit of the grass. That checked him up, and it also checked up Rogers, and that's going to allow for Smiley to come right into it.
This is looking like it could erupt again onto the front stretch, depending on the exit out of Hogpen. Who's got the throttle down quickest? It looks like Mccune. A slip up from Scott Rogers. No, a pit stop from Scott Rogers. I suspect a drive-through penalty maybe.
Yeah, I think that is true as well. I'm not seeing that number 737 making for pit lanes necessarily. Yep, that is a drive-through for Rogers as we focus back on our leader who's been able to pull a healthy 1.4-second gap.
The Mini Green Hell is earning that nickname today. Oh, Adamczyk just had a wreck. He got into the side of Stevenson, and they're almost blocking the road, causing more issues as cars scatter. That is Kaufman, who's getting turned. Now Kaufman is off the course.
Kaufman going backwards there through the snake. That was an absolute kerfluffle if I have ever seen one, Joe. Almost a complete track blockage, and drivers just scattering to get out of the way.
On the replay. And the 407 was really kind of an innocent victim on this one. Had little place to avoid that. And I wouldn't really call it a bad rejoin. He was just trying to get going.
Yeah, it's one of the problems there as you come through that snake. It's one of the few areas on the track where the barriers are very, very tight next to you. And as a result, you try to get turned around, get back onto the track, and there's almost nothing you can do.
Wow. I'm trying to figure out, we'll need to check and see who is some of our biggest movers out of all of this, because there has to be some drivers that have had some big gains from the day. I do see Robert Gordon from 27th to 9th right now on my screen, so that'll be one to celebrate if he can just keep this up. There he is right now, actually a little bit on his lonesome. No, actually someone's coming up behind him, and it's Tripp Starkey, one of those that has fallen victim to the chaos of today.
Indeed, and Starkey's got a lot of speed. He's going to dive, think about diving at least his way down. No, he's not. Oh, yes, he is. No, he's not. Okay, there we go. Tripp, make up your mind there, buddy. You're making it confusing for us up in the booth.
As we come back to our top two. Now, so much has been happening that we haven't really been able to cover that Spence and Mccune have not been separated for much of this race. It's still only split by about 0.6 of a second. As we go back to Scott Rogers once again, he'll go by Freddie Lopez in the first corner. That was for 14th.
It was indeed. Remember, Rogers had that off. He's now fighting up. We jump back to Gordon Wardle here. He's looking in the back of this, trying to get around Freddie Lopez right now. Rogers just a car ahead of him, trying to put the pressure on there through NASCAR Bend as they now come around here. That long right-hander flicking working the car this way and that. This is the snake. There's not really an opportunity here for him to get by.
Will Wardle be willing to stay patient on it, though? He could try and press the issue, see if he can get a mistake out of the 777 up into South Bend. Still not putting a foot wrong, but he is all over that rear bumper as we watch from the roof of Wardle, looking around the outside, and nope, he's going to get denied there. A shallow entry from Lopez. That's not going to help his exit speed, and Wardle is going to get a decent one, but we head over to the 55 for a brief moment. It got mighty close. We come back to Starkey now, who is leading along Robert Gordon and Ubieta.
Is indeed. Woo! Car off there coming out of that last corner. Everybody having to get out of the way to avoid that. Very thankful that they did.
See more drivers in pit lane on my screen, and we'll have to check that out, see if Rachel and Taylor can get an update on that one down the front stretch. Here's another battle. Looks like Lopez and Palmer as they come up to the horseshoe just as Abraham Jones exits the pits. A little bit of defense from the 777 after being demoted by Wardle. Lopez now has Greg filling his mirrors. In fact, Greg thinking about it maybe in a NASCAR bend. He's got it side by side, and he's through.
That is some great car control there from Greg Palmer. You saw the way he just sort of got that car to the middle of the corner and then was able to wind it back. Very, very heads up. Jumping back here up to Tripp Starkey as he's gonna get on by Craig Smith.
Lots of passes today, that's for sure. I guess a mixed up grid doesn't necessarily happen just from qualifying. Those restarts have been full of fun here today. And speaking of full of fun, I think it is time for our midway race report, brought to you by Z1 Dashboard. With each new upgrade of the Z1 Dashboard software, it gets better and more feature-rich, and version 2021.3 is no exception. The Z1 Designer lets you create your own custom displays for use with the Z1 Dashboard. So in addition to the almost 200 standard items, you can add your own custom designs and place the data you want exactly where you want it. Remember, the Z1 Dashboard also takes care of the engineering and strategy for you and helps make sure you are maximizing your on-track performance. To find out more, visit z1dashboard.com. Rachel?
Thank you very much. Well, we've had a tumultuous race so far, but Mark Mccune has been taking advantage. Started second, currently running first. The Pacific Northwest driver from Zone 6 in that 19 machine is pushing on and trying to make a gap. Second place is Adam Spence, started third from the Kansas City region. Run number 10, our 55 machine, is chasing down Mccune right now, trying to get that win that suddenly jumped into their laps. We'll have to see what comes from this. Third is our biggest mover by far in this front group. He is 18th down to third. The 4 car from the Maverick region. This man from Texas is taking everything he wants. He is up 15 spots. Chris Pippin in 4th is up from 8th place. The Kansas City region driver of Zone 10 in that 22 machine, up 4 so far. And up 13th from 17 to 5th is Jeff Lashway, the Hudson Champlain region driver of Zone 1 in that number 13 machine, getting it done. 6th place is Patrick Adamczyk from the Upper Canada region. The 407 driver is currently up from 14th to 6th. So it's 8 up for him so far. Closely behind him, chasing is Tripp Starkey, the Rocky Mountain region driver of Zone 9 in that very, very tartan 20 car. Tripp was started in 5th, and he is back in 7th right now, unfortunately. Craig Smith from 20th to 8th, 12 up for him. The 10 car from the Mid-Ohio region of Zone 4 is definitely taking advantage of the turmoil in today's event. 6th on the grid to 9th on the track is Kim Frick after a recent incident. The Niagara region driver in our 66 car is glad it isn't the 666. 10th is Robert Gordon, the Chesapeake region driver of Zone 1 in that 30 machine there. He's up from 27th to 10th, so 17 places gained for him, our biggest mover so far. However, after him is Albert Ibeta, the San Diego region driver, who is our biggest mover overall, up a whopping 19 places right now. No, make that 20. He's up 20 places. That is crazy. The 11 car from San Diego up there. As David Purdy, the Peach State region driver, Zone 3, is in 12th place right now. Purdy is up from 23rd. That is 11 spots gained for him. He started 9th, he's down in 13th. To Scott Rogers in the Rocky Mountain region of Zone 9. Definitely wanted to regain what he lost. In 14th place is going to be Gordon Wardle, Gulf Coast region driver of Zone 12 in that 2 car. Started 11th, is currently running 14th. Taylor?
As we move on to the 15th position, you'll find the Milwaukee region driver of Greg Palmer. Greg Palmer having a great run after starting in the 11th position, was able to recover some positions after some mistakes. But the Milwaukee region driver in that Gulf Livery 44 is going to gain a few more spots as he works his way through. And there he goes around, actually. 16th is Freddie Lopez. He was one of our biggest movers earlier in the race after starting in 25th, has fallen back a few spots, but will try to recover. The Pacific Northwest driver is trying to see if he can regain those spots he lost. 17th is Jack Stevenson from the Chicago region, Zone 13. Jack started in 19th, so a 2-spot gain for him. We talked to him a little earlier on. Bruce Friobi from the Red River region in car number 130. Started 21st, is now running in the 18th position. Has a little bit of a gap right now by himself as he works down the back straightaway. 19th is Frederick Chin from the Las Vegas region. Started 7th, not having the best of nights as he's running just inside the top 20. He was one of our biggest movers earlier on, but David Kaufman from the Pacific Northwest region is now back running in 20th position after starting 16th. Andrew Mccune is the last car on the lead lap, currently running in 21st after starting 26th. The Rocky Mountain region driver in that number 23, looking to see if he can gain a few more spots. He is one of the first cars 1 lap down in that Vulcan tire livery, a car that actually won here at VIR back in the early IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Series races here. But Robert Benson from the Rennsport region having a tough night indeed, but has not gained or lost any spots here tonight. 23rd is Scott Kessel from the Northeast region. Started in 28th, now has gained 5 spots, running in 23rd. Behind him in 24th is the Allegheny region driver Abraham Jones in the 996. There you see on board, he's got the VR headset. Hopefully you can see around some of these corners, avoiding some of the chaos like he just has to do right there. And was able to get around them no problem. Moving on to 25th position is Andrew Smiley. There's Scott Kessel there, but Andrew Smiley is the next driver from the Connecticut Valley region in car 17. Started in 13th position, not having the best of nights as he's running 1 lap down. David Kretzler from the Sun Coast, Florida region in car 74. Started in 10th, not having the best of nights either as he's running 2 laps down. And still on pit road is Garrett Taylor, 5 laps down in the 27th position. 3 cars are out of tonight's race. Drew Kinney, Chris Ramirez, and Hector Garcia.
This concludes tonight's Midway Race Report, brought to you by Z1 Dashboard. Big thank you to them, and thanks to Rachel and Taylor for the updates. Oh, did we have a change for the lead just now? Spence just got by Mcgee, and this was from a mistake from the 19 car coming out of Oak Tree. Just as we return to the coverage, a near spin for the red and gray 19, and suddenly he sees that lead evaporate into thin air.
Yeah, he just ran a little bit wide on Oak Tree there, Joe, and that sent him around. He tried to gather it back up under him, but Mcgee, unfortunate to get passed by Adam Spence. So he is now there, going to have to try to reel him in here in these closing 6 minutes or so.
And another development that we've had during the through the field is Thomas Briggs has been given a drive-through penalty for too many incidents. The horrible news for that is it's because of contact with a lapped car as they were trying to navigate one another, and there was miscommunication. So Briggs is going to lose the podium with that.
Yeah, and that's going to bump Chris Pippen right now up into that third place position. So a good run there for Chris. He's up 5 places from him.
Up in a NASCAR bend for him. Now he's got to try and hold back Briggs, who's back by about 3.5 seconds, but it's only 4.5 minutes left, so it's going to have to take a severe pace advantage by the 4 car to catch back up to him and get back on the podium. But traffic could play a part of that, and in fact, Pippen has already just having to overtake Andrew Smiley. I think there might be others. No, they're a long ways up, it looks like. So maybe he's saved by the bell.
Yeah, maybe indeed. It looks like there's about a 14 or so second gap there, as you said, Joe, between him and Tripp Starkey. So I think he's going to be okay for now.
Looks like Scott Rogers got another one. Just went by Robert Gordon. Gordon still up a number of positions from 27th to 14th, so they shouldn't be too upset about that one. This battle for the lead, though, oh, and that was way deep in a roller coaster for Mark. That'll cost him a lot of time that he had just regained and cut back down to about 6/10.
Yeah, indeed. He's losing a lot of time here, and he is not having a lot of time left on the clock. So he has got to be pushing ahead the best that he can, but that gap is currently about 1 second. He's going to really have to push here. And Joe, we have talked about what happens when you push around VIR.
We've seen what happens when you push around VIR. A lot of drivers have already fallen victim to this place. Yeah, I think this is 2 laps to go now for these drivers as they come through NASCAR Bend once again. And did we lose Gordon Wardle? Because he suddenly disappeared on my screen. Oh, he had a spin. This may have been an incident limit thing. I think so, because he just suddenly disappeared. Yeah, Gordon Wardle looks to have left the track.
Yeah, I think that may have been an incident limit. Yes, indeed. We are hearing it right now that it was a 26 incident limit there for Wardle, so that is it.
We do have some drivers that are managing to keep it a lot safer. Adam Spence, actually one of them, with no incidents on the board thus far. But I guess that jives that the driver with the lowest incidents is probably going to be competitive here today. So we watch on screen, still being chased, and he's coming up on some more traffic. This is Scott Kessel, staying to the outside, putting them offline. In fact, it puts off track the likes of Mark Mccune. Is he going to lose second place as well? As Pippen close enough?
Well, he's trying to get it towed back in right now, waiting for that gap to come down. He's trying to get on track. Pippen is closing.
Not there in time. Pippen will not be able to get up into second. Mccune 14 seconds behind our leader now. Spence just crossed for the white flag, and yeah, I really don't think the back marker did much all that wrong there. But Mark Mccune has got to be fuming right now.
Yeah, I think that may have been a little bit of an over-aggressive move there from Mccune to try to come up and around, but at the end of the day, I would just call that a racing deal, Joe. Mccune here has just got to focus ahead. He's got about 2 seconds up the road from Chris Pippen to try to hold on to that second place. So
through the S's for Spence as Mccune just ahead of Pippen down through the left hook. And in fact, looks like Mccune is a little bit faster through this portion as he's starting to extend that gap. So I think that one might solidly still be in the hands of the 19, unless he makes a mistake. And we've already seen 2 out of him here in the late stages. A bit of irony, I guess you could say, as the 19 inherited the lead from Taylor, who also suffered from his own problems early in the race.
Yeah, indeed. A little bit of what goes around comes around as we follow here Adam Spence. He's got some clear air in front of him as he makes his way up towards roller coaster right now. Only a couple of more corners here at VIR.
Wow, Adam Spence from third on the grid. Kept it pointed forward. Kept his tires on the road. And he's coming up to an accident here. Hopefully they hold the brakes, and Spence saw it. He got on his binders. Not going to lose him the lead. It's a good thing he had that big gap, because victory is now in the hands of the 55 of Adam Spence.
A good job there from Spence doing what he had to do, and around here at VIR, that was staying out of trouble. Mccune will be able to cross over in P2. It looks like we ride on board with Thomas Briggs there. Scott Rogers, though, is he trying to close in on David Purdy with the last couple of corners?
He is, and it looks like he's going to have to make a big move, though. Can he get close enough to try and attack? He needs a huge bit of acceleration off of Oak Tree, but he does not get it. This looks too far back from the 0-1-0.
Yeah, I don't think he's really going to be close enough to get anything done here coming up into roller coaster. He's just going to have to hope to force a little bit of a mistake. If that happens, we'll have to wait and see. Breaking down now into roller coaster. Doesn't look like he has it.
Nope, just a little too far back. I see Frederick Chin chasing Jack Stevenson. Those two also not changing positions. In fact, you can just catch glances of them in the background of this one. And as we hop on board with Chin, could he get a good enough run? Can he snipe him at the line? No. Looks like Stevenson will deny him and retain lucky P13. Chin finishing 14th today, and 17 cars finishing up on the lead lap. That'll take us to our finishing order. Adam Spence, of course, taking the win with Mark Lecombe finishing P2. You've got Chris Pippen jumping up to third, and Thomas Briggs was looking at a podium from 18th on the grid until that incident limit bit him and he had to serve a penalty. Tripp Starkey was P5, incredibly, exactly where he started this race. Patrick Adamczyk was 6th and Kim Frick 7th. Then it was Craig Smith up 12 positions to finish P8. Lashway was 9th, and Ubieta, without a qualifying time, still went from 30th to 10th.
Remarkable run there for him, and a good one from David Purdy, who was up 12 on the day to come home in 11th. He was followed by Scott Rogers and Jack Stevenson. Frederick Chin was in 14th, followed by Robert Gordon, with David Kaufman in 16th and Freddie Lopez in 17th. He was the last driver on the lead lap, with Bruce Firobi finishing in 18th and Robert Benson at 19th. Abraham Jones will round out your top 20.
21st went to Scott Kessel, and Andrew Mccune was 22nd. Those two laps down. Krutzler as well at 23rd position. Andrew Smiley, P24. Then it was Gordon Wardle in 25th and Greg Palmer in 26th. Garrett Taylor, a DNF today, and everybody beyond him also didn't see the checkered flag. My goodness, this is going to be one where the drivers will have to regroup, much like we saw with Auto Club, and see if they can get some cleaner racing next time, because there were a lot of them that wound up getting incidents and finding themselves facing the wrong way, off track, or simply in the wall. As I believe we have some interviews for this one. Let's see who we have up first, ready to go. And it looks like we've got our winner ready to speak to us. Adam, congratulations on the win. A big talking point for today was just the messiness out there, but you kept it all together and, in fact, inherited the lead because of that after a mistake from Mark. Was your goal in this one coming in just to try and keep it clean like that and hope it shakes out in this way?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really interesting. So this was a 0 incident point race for me, which is really cool. But Mark and I actually did a practice race last night, and we were nose to tail the whole evening. So we kind of repeated it today, and I just had to be patient, and eventually it all came through.
It did. Now, when that caution happened, was that good news for you or bad news? Because obviously that's a sword that can cut both ways.
So yeah, it was kind of mixed. So it's bad news because we'd already built up a lead, but it was good news because it kind of brought everything together, so we didn't have to pass traffic as early. So that was really good. The other element of the bad news, though, was our tires cooled off, so we had to spend another couple of laps getting back up to speed.
It's something that we hadn't even considered in that. I'm sure that made things pretty tricky with how cool the track conditions were for most of the day. That said, I mean, it was messy, but it was also a win. So are you glad to see the other side of this track and head off to another one next week? Or because of this victory, are you suddenly a little bit more fonder of this place?
So this is the first time I've raced here, and I've got to say it's actually a really nice track. I've been thoroughly impressed. So definitely looking forward to next week. I think we go back across the pond, or is it? I'd have to go and check. But yeah, looking forward to next week, and we'll see how it goes.
Well, again, congratulations. Is there anybody that you want to thank for today's victory?
Yeah, most of all, I want to thank my family for being very understanding, and my friends, because this has become a bit of an obsession racing for me. But also you guys, because I watched the coverage the first couple of weeks before I even got into it, and I think you guys do an amazing job. So keep it up.
Well, thank you very much. That was Adam Spence, our winner here today in the number 55 machine. And then up next, we've got second place Mark Lacombe with DJ.
Well, Mark, you inherited the lead there early on in the race, and then obviously a little mistake coming around Oak Tree lost you the lead. How you feeling, my friend?
Feeling pretty good. You know, it's not great to make a mistake like that, but kudos to Adam for hanging right close there.
So I have to ask, this is a bit of an outlier of a track here, obviously where incidents are massively, massively punished. You only walked away with 2 incidents here. Do you like tracks like this, or do you want to go back to the stuff kind of like the Nurburgring that's got a little bit more margin for error?
I don't know. I'll race just about anywhere, except maybe those Rovals, but this was definitely a challenging track. I hadn't raced here before, so I spent some time practicing.
Well, already clearly paid off, like I said, with only those 2 incidents there for you, my friend. Anybody you'd like to thank for this second place run today?
Yeah, definitely got to thank our sponsors, Z1 Dashboard, Hagerty, Podium Esports, DJ. He did a great job on that full course caution, working us through. And of course, Doug organizing all of PCA Sim Racing. And I got to thank my wife, Debbie, who puts up with not all of my regular racing, but now she's putting up with sim racing too. So got to give her a hand for that.
You've got to thank those spouses for that. Thank you so much, Mark. That was Mark Lacombe, your second place finisher here today. Joe?
And it looks like we're joined by Chris Pippin as well from 8th to 3rd. Rachel has caught up with him.
Yeah, so you have 8th to 3rd on the grid, Chris. Talk me through those initial laps.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Sorry, I said you came from 8th to 3rd there, of course, throughout this race, but just tell me about how tumultuous those first laps were.
The first 2 laps were nerve-wracking for sure. I was really worried about turn 1, and thankfully I got through clean. Made up a couple positions there and just trying to stay on track. It's such an easy track to just drop a tire here or there, and then you're in trouble for several corners. Get such a flowing track, so it's really just focusing on really keeping on track and getting everything up to temperature and get into a rhythm.
Very much was, of course, and we heard some of the drivers mention the full course caution brought tire temps down. Did that hamper you on the restart?
Yeah, so we were that was unexpected. It was fun. It definitely added a new hurdle to it. But yeah, watching, I think we did 3 laps or so, or 4 laps maybe, and watching the whole time tire temps dropping, and so it was kind of reset and kind of a picture for the initial start all over again, and just trying to be extra cautious again with colder tires until the temps come back up. So again, being extra careful, don't drop a tire anywhere.
Absolutely. Anybody you'd like to give a quick shout out to or thank?
Yeah, my wife for sure, for allowing me to do this and supporting this hobby.
Well, there you go. That's the most important one, of course. Thanks for joining us, Chris Pippin, coming home today in 3rd.
And the racing is not over yet today, though. We, of course, have the sport class coming up here in just a moment. Make sure and stick around, as there is 40 more minutes of racing here on the PCA Sim Racing Series presented by Hagerty.
Hagerty is the world's largest provider of specialty insurance for enthusiast vehicles and supports keeping car culture alive through youth programs, the Historic Vehicle Association, the RPM Foundation, and more. Hagerty is home to key programs such as the Hagerty Drivers Club, Hagerty Drive Share, Hagerty Valuation Tools, the Hagerty Drivers Club magazine, and much, much more. For more information, visit their website at Hagerty.com. PCA Sim Racing is proud to have Hagerty Motorsports as its 2021 title sponsor.
Welcome back to Virginia International Raceway. We just watched the challenge class here in the Sim Racing PCA Sim Racing Series presented by Hagerty, and now we get ready to watch the sport class. And my goodness, I don't know if the drivers were watching that one. A lot of them in the past, DJ, have said they often aren't because they're in here practicing. I'm starting to get the feeling maybe they should have been watching.
I think they should have too, Joe, because you and I predicted that it was going to be a little bit of battle of willpower around here, a little bit of a battle of trying to keep these cars on the track, and that at the end of the day, from first all the way down the order, was what the race came down to. It was about keeping all four wheels on the black stuff. And the drivers that we saw succeed, well, it was no real coincidence that they had 0 and 2 incidents, respectively.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, knowing that, Rachel, is this a case where you feel like there are certain things that the drivers should be watching out for? Are there scenarios or corners or things that you've been seeing that have been the big trouble zones from that first race?
Yeah, I can definitely identify some trouble zones on the track from that very first race. I went back and actually had a quick look at the analysis, and I found that there were issues at turns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. No, it was kind of everywhere, realistically. I think whilst the drivers probably should watch the previous race, what they shouldn't watch is WWE.
All right, well, we'll see who's about to put the smack down as we watch Carl Boccieri on his warm-up. They've already finished the qualifying here, and they are just getting ready to go for this race. Now, we should mention as well that these classes, as we go along, are kind of the higher skill level by the higher skill level, so hopefully it in your race. And you can see that the drivers do get pretty serious even at this sport level, because Tom Crane has got a motion rig with, is it triple screens and VR? Is that what I'm seeing? I have questions. I guess when he doesn't want the VR, he's got the triple screens, but this is a bit overkill for me.
Yeah, just a little bit, but we'll have to see if it pays off for him. Sometimes those rigs can come in to really help, and sometimes, well, you still just got to rely on your own wits around here, Joe.
So you're saying it's a bold strategy, Cotton?
I am indeed.
So Tom Crane out there, currently 19th on the timing sheet in the 864. This is Antonio De Silva that we have as well. A little bit more of a meager setup, certainly a lovely looking one with that lighting. This looks like it could be in like an indie film or something that he's got going on. But I do like this, and he's another one running the VR. Could be helpful today, especially around some corners such as Oak Tree. A lot tighter radius than you realize until you get there.
Yeah, for sure. It's really one of those that it's got a wide entry into the corner and then gets very, very tight upon exit. So a little bit tricky there to get its way around. Ooh, another good setup there. Bob Moore running a motion rig and VR haptics all the way around. I'm very envious of that one.
Looks like you might even have a wind simulator in there. But it's time for us to get to our sponsor here for the sport class, and that is Pirelli. Pirelli was founded in Milan in 1872 and is a global brand known for its cutting-edge technology, high-end production, excellence, and passion for innovation that draws heavily on its Italian roots. Pirelli is among the world's major producers of tires and is an OEM supplier to Porsche. Find more about Pirelli at Pirelli.com. That brings us to the grid once again, and Mark Harris will be on the pole for this one. Thomas Doherty starts to his outside as Trey Davis will be P3. It is Keith Morgan in P4. Peter Yurtza starts in the 5th position as he's flanked by Daniel Florian. Antonio Da Silva, who was giving us a look at his rig a little bit earlier, will start from 7th. Lawn Race Rumi, who occasionally is racing up at the front, will start from 8th today. 5th row is then Ben Leung and Arnie Claesen.
Starting off in 11th is Carl Boccieri, the winner from the Canadian race that we had earlier this season, followed by Dean Chapman. Jason Brodigan will be lining up in 13th, followed by Adam Gerling, with Will Mungia in 15th and Volker Krebs 16th. Ryan Rapolis will be 17th, followed by Val Asinio, with Abjit Barua in 19th and Jeff Williams in 20th.
In 21st, it's Stephen Jacoby with Robert Walton 22nd. Then it is Bob Moore. After that, he's got David Snelling with him on that row, with Tom Crane in 25th. Adam Holland starts in 26th, followed by Ronald Seaman. It's Ryan Mcgee starting 28th, and the last driver to set a time was Edward Treppe in 29th. Balastieri starts 31st, and Fong in 30th. So very similar sized field to what we saw last time. And we've got a lot of views of our onboards. We've already seen some of them, but there we get a glance at everybody out there today here in the sport class getting ready to compete. Let's hope enough of them are able to stick around after the first few laps and not fall victim to what is proving to be an insanely difficult track.
Yeah, Joe, that was the real problem last time out. We just saw driver after driver running afoul of everything out there. And it really was almost no fault other than their own, just running into problems. So drivers now going to have to be a little bit careful, going to have to watch out for everything. They know where these pitfalls are going to come.
Absolutely. This was one of them, through the snake, where we saw a massive pileup there in that challenge class. Let's hope we don't get that once again. And then up into the S's they go here on our pace lap. It's a little bit later in the day, Taylor, so we've got slightly warmer temperatures. Let's hope that that will mean that the tire warm-up, at least on this pace lap, will be a little bit quicker. We're hoping we don't have to have a tire warm-up after a restart with another caution, though.
No, certainly you do not. These drivers are definitely going to be taking their time, probably hopefully taking a look as we look from the back of the field right now of Benjamin Fong. He's probably going to hopefully take his time. He has a lot of experience so far this season, but decided to take the smarter approach, maybe start from the back, try to see if the chaos in front of him he can avoid. But even as we saw, no matter where you are, where you're starting, you can find trouble very quickly here at VIR.
Before we go to green, Taylor, I know you've had actual personal experience at this track. Any good tales or juicy stories you could tell us from those times?
Oh my goodness, there has been a couple. One of my personal favorites about this track is the actual chance that I got to drive at this circuit. I took my own personal car out on the track to do a couple of hot laps, and when they say that your body actually completely drops when you're going down the roller coaster, so that's why when some of these drivers who have the motion rigs, I'm hoping they don't have a full stomach, because it will just make your stomach completely drop. So have fun out there for those on the motion rigs, but it is an absolutely amazing, beautiful track. And also, I was actually in a VIR commercial.
Oh, well, you'll have to link that to me later. Now I'm kind of curious. As we come through that roller coaster down towards Hogpen, they're going to try and get stacked up here for the start, with Mark Harris taking the lead and waiting for the green flag. Last time, the lead almost changed hands down into the first corner, and then it did a few corners later. Will we get similar sorts of drama here as the Porsche pace car getting ready to lead them away, and he is in. Mark Harris looking for that green. Green flag is out, and it's a very strong start from the 981. He starts to pull ahead. Doherty looks like he might be trying to get in the slipstream, and indeed, he now gets under the rear wing of that silver car and down into the first corner. Both of them are going to take a defensive line into there. Much more orderly, it seems. Oh, but we got some beating and banging as cars get too slowed up. Otherwise, I see no spins.
Yeah, everybody looking to be relatively calm there through the first corner, but we also saw a lot of problems through NASCAR Bend and into this next corner, Joe. Looks like we've got some drivers. Oh, I see Peter Yerxa off there. He is out into the grass. That looks like one of the first victims of the slippery grass here at VIR.
And he's going very slowly trying to find an opening. He is going to get passed by everybody. Behind him, there were cars that were slowing up. I'm not sure if it was for him, but for the second time, they crunched into each other, nose to tail, because nobody was expecting the traffic to practically stop on track. That was utterly bizarre. Now they come into Oak Tree, and it is still Harris leading Doherty with Trey Davis behind, 1.2 seconds between your podium.
Yeah, indeed. It looks like the only big risers and fallers here that I'm seeing right now, Lonray Sarumi up one position naturally, so good job for them. Not really seeing a lot of drafting getting formed here coming out of Oak Tree and onto that back straight as they work their way now down towards the roller coaster that Taylor was talking about.
And there's that crest that drops them down. So far, no offs amongst the front runners through that turn. Anybody in the back maybe going to find themselves slipping off? Doesn't look like it, but they're getting quite spread out. And as they come around to finish the first lap, Harris has a gap of about 0.6 of a second.
And Joe, Arnie Clausen had a very strange incident in the back. He just speared off the track towards the beginning of Hogpen. I'm not sure what happened there at the 242.
And Simone is also off. The 6 is in the barrier, and this was in Hogpen, so not sure what happened there. We'll see if Rachel and Taylor can go and check those out and figure out what is going on with some of our drivers. Meanwhile, the 59 still that 0.6 of a second back as they come through the snake once again. And they're starting to drop Trey Davis as well. He's 1.1 seconds behind. We hop on board with 7th place, De Silva. He's in the midst of a few cars. Leon is behind him. Sarumi is in front. They've also got Florian not that far ahead in the red machine.
Yeah, this has the potential to erupt here in just a little bit. They are now diving down into Oak Tree right now. This is that crucial jumping off point. De Silva doing a good job to close up under braking there under Lonray Sarumi. He may have a little bit of a run here. That gap's about 0.4 of a second. Oh, but Ben Leong looking even closer to the back of De Silva.
And he's got to want this one. He's got the slipstream. I don't know if he's close enough. They're coming up to the roller coaster now, and by the time they hit the braking, he's just going to have to sit in line behind that 24. But look how good he is on that braking as he gets that gap down to almost nothing for a brief moment while they accordion together. Can he do the same here at Hogpen? Maybe accelerate that little bit faster, get him down into 1. Doesn't quite look like it.
Yeah, not quite able to get that. We jump back with Ryan Rapolis now. Rapolis owes Dean Chapman his toed on in. He's dropping down the order there on your screen. But Rapolis trying to look this way and that on Volker Krebs going down into the horseshoe.
Not even blinking. Volker holds him behind. And thought we had another car going slow. Ryan Mcgee off the track. Trying to figure out where he is exactly. That was through Hogpen. Don't need to go to it. 944 back on the circuit, but falls down to 25th in the meantime. Through the left hook as we've got Thomas Doherty now in P2. Oh, and he has gained down 0.4 of a second on Mark Harris, and Trey Davis has gained down to 0.7 of a second. Is this simply the ebb and flow of their pace, or is there a mistake from the 981?
I'm going back to check right now, Joe. I think it may just be a little bit of the ebb and flow. I'm not necessarily seeing any real problem from Mark Davis. He lost a little bit of time, it looks like, coming through left hook. May have run a little bit wide there. Car trying to be a little bit squirrely under him, but nothing mega, nothing like a big mistake there from our leading machine.
Adam Gerling now on your screen in the 248. He's chasing Brodegan just in front of him. And Boccieri's in there as well. A lot of drivers kind of collected together here in the mid-pack, but not quite close enough to attack. You can see the air between the cars right now. And they're going to have to hope for a mistake, which, based on what we witnessed just a few minutes ago, mistakes are likely.
Yeah, indeed, mistakes are likely and almost inevitable driving around here, so we'll have to keep our eyes open as that pressure continues to mount. That's one of the big things here around VIR, is you just want to try to keep as much pressure as you can to that driver in front of you. See if you can force that error, if at all possible.
We had a pass between De Silva and Leon. Ben manages to get himself into 7th in the horseshoe. A nice little move, as the 24 seemed to have outbraked himself. Not sure if we can get a replay on that. I see it, Val Asensio off track. Here's the replay of the pass.
Yeah, that was just a great heads up there from Ben Leung, noticing that De Silva tried to carry a little bit too much speed into the entry of the corner, maybe just tried to take a later apex there, and that left the door open for Leung. Leung had the ability to lift off of that brake pedal a little bit, let the car go by a little bit faster, and get on ahead of Antonio De Silva. A great move from Leung, and now De Silva's got Carl Boccieri all up behind him.
Carl up 2 positions from the start here, looking for one more to complete his collection. Let's see if he's got anything on the backstretch. Doesn't look like it right now. That car is a little far away as we check in with Rapalus instead, a little farther up the road in 14th. Krebs rather, is the one in front of him as they come over the crest and up at the front of this train. I thought I saw Brodegan go fairly wide there for a brief moment. We got a car off track in front of them. That's Ronald Simone. That's a lapped car, so that's not for position. He's doing a good job waiting for everybody to clear the track before he returns up into the horseshoe. Yet again, still no change between 10th and 14th.
No, drivers keeping it a little bit more together here, but we jump back here. This is Abhijit Barua as he's going to try to take a look to the inside of Jeff Williams going down into the horseshoe. He is going to have to be later on the brakes as that's Williams trying to carry some momentum around the outside, but Abhijit gets it done. Move that red Porsche up 1 spot.
991 has got himself yet another position, so up 4. Brodegan up in P10, number 14 machine, chasing the number 80 of Boccieri. Instead of Carl being able to go on the attack, will he have to defend? We watch from Carl, looking through the climbing S's, seeing just how much curb they have to take through here. And then over the South Bend, plunging down through a little valley and up into Oak Tree. Brodegan looking closer. It's within 0.5 of a second. Who's got the traction?
Who's it gonna be? It looks like he's able to hold it off here for a little bit as they go down that backstretch. I don't think we're gonna see an attack here. And indeed, just enough breathing room.
Keeps him at bay. Now we come over to Ben Fong, sitting down in 21st. However, he is up 9 from where he started this race. He was one of the few that did not put a qualifying time in. And ahead of him is Tom Crane. So it certainly seems like the pace is good enough for Ben to continue to move forward. Let's see how many he can get before this is over, because we've still got a vast majority of this race to go.
Yeah, we really do, Joe. And remember, we can talk a little bit more now that we're not having that full course yellow that we did in the previous race about tire wear. Oh, so we've got somebody coming on into the pits here. This is Walton coming on in. I'm not sure if this is a drive-through, as we do not expect pit stop.
And this is not a drive-through, but it was a black flag for an incident. So he's come down into pit lane. This is such a stark contrast. It's not just visually, pace-wise with what we're seeing here, DJ, because it was just accident after accident before. but we've had the top 12 on the field right now with 0 incidents. That is how clean they're racing.
Yeah, it's really pretty impressive here from these top drivers there to get away with 0x. And I mean, truthfully, we saw for the most part any driver that was able to get away. Oh, we got to jump here. This is the battle for P1. This is Doherty all over the back of Harris trying to make a move in a roller coaster.
Just got a fantastic couple corners there and followed in the slipstream, but wasn't able to attack. Was showing his nose a little bit, watching on board with Doherty. Here's the hands. How smooth can he be coming off of Hogpen? Frighteningly fast right-hander with a double apex and on to the front stretch. Still not quite close enough. Unless he's brave, he could chuck it up the inside. Any defense from Harris? No, he'll leave the door open, and Doherty can't step through.
All right, so Harris able to carry a little bit more speed around the outside, and that's going to keep him at bay for now. But we saw Doherty have a good launch there off of Oak Tree. Rest assured that both of these top drivers are going to know that, and Harris may be trying to look a little bit more defensive.
Another car in pit lane. And this is Volker Krebs. This is another black flag. Oof. Well, it's not totally clean. Volker for an unsafe re-entry. Rapolos also in pit lane for black flag for an incident out on track. A few boys and girls have been naughty today. Jason Brodigan giving us the helmet cam here, chasing down Boccieri still. These two have been relatively close to one another for the last couple laps. Let's see what the infamous Oak Tree will offer both of them.
All right, let's see indeed. Boccieri, remember those calm, cool hands that we saw in Canada. They're coming out to play a little bit more here. He's able to keep Brodigan behind him for now. Brodigan just can't find any way by, it looks like, period.
Now, he's got to get closer than that. It's one of those things that always frustrated me as a driver about this place, DJ. You have, like, right here, down into the roller coaster. It's at the end of a long, long straightaway. Heavy braking. You think, great place to pass. But, man, it is just so single file into there. You got to be really on it to try and execute.
Yeah, it's very, very tricky, and part of the reason for that is that you have to sort of apply the braking up through the corners and it's not a straightforward braking zone, Joe. Turn 13, right as you get into the roller coaster, that sort of left-handed kink, you've got to be a little bit careful on the brakes. You don't want to lock up any of the tires. It's very tricky.
Absolutely, and down through NASCAR Bend. Boccieri in the red and white that you see on your screen. The gray belonging to Brodigan. We come back to Doherty now in second place. Still has not given up the ghost on Harris and is keeping the pressure on.
Yeah, really, really keeping it on him here, and this is exactly what we tried to do and tried to talk about, Joe, is just keeping as much pressure as humanly possible on those drivers in front of you and force a mistake. Here at VIR, if you get one tire wrong, it's not like the Nurburgring. You get off into a bad way. Oh, could we see a little bit of a pass? That's Harris trying to go defensive, but Doherty's going to try to force his nose and through the roller coaster. They almost touch.
Think there may have been a little ghost contact, almost going into the grass. Doherty has to whoa up, and Mark Harris will hold on to the lead. This is a couple of titans out here today. Almost looked like a little bit of a mistake on the entry into Hogpen from Mark once again, and Doherty gets another bite of the apple. Will this one actually work as he comes down into the horseshoe? He's going to show his nose. Harris, a half-hearted defense, comes back to the racing line and then chops down, leaves a little bit of a lane to the inside, and Harris retains the lead.
Indeed, able to hold that out there as they work their way up through NASCAR Bend right now.
It sounds like Taylor's got some info on that corner. Taylor, what's up?
Well, NASCAR Bend actually got its name back in 1966, where a Trans Am's race was held at this circuit, and Richard Petty, David Pearson, and Wendell Scott were in that event. Unfortunately, they cannot make that corner whatsoever. They keep going off into the grass in what would now be where the tire barriers are. So, due to the fact that the drivers failed to make that corner because it was turning into the left section, they just called it the NASCAR Bend because of these NASCAR drivers, these greats and Hall of Famers, just couldn't make that corner.
I love that story. And coming along the back stretch now, we see Harris being chased by Doherty, but Doherty is way farther behind this time, so not going to see a repeat of that, at least as it sits right now. Instead, we come back to 15th. Jeff Williams just behind Adam Holland. We've talked about Jeff Williams a bit during this race, but I don't think we've mentioned Adam Holland once.
We really haven't, and Holland's doing a pretty good job here, up 12 spots right now in 14th. That's that 144, very bright color. Woo! But that's high. That is Jeff Williams trying to get a little bit of piece of that as well.
Holland almost scared off the track, but he gets a decent exit, and he is going to be clear. We've also got something from Rachel down on pit lane. Rachel, what's up?
Actually, yeah, it's a bit more about the very earlier days of VIR, of course. This track was one of the first permanent American circuits, and it became a major fixture on the SCCA circuit, and a huge favourite for those guys. And this was back in its original old days, and it was, unfortunately, located in the heart of stock car racing country. So it really wasn't able to attract big crowds, like, of course, the ones you get at Watkins Glen.
We got a bit of an accident on screen. That's Sarumi, who just spun it, I think, completely on his own into NASCAR Bend once again. Sorry there, Rachel. A little bit of action as that bumps him down to 9th. Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem, of course. But, of course, like I said, it wasn't able to attract those crowds. And here's a fun fact for you. In 1959, the Sports Car Enterprises who owned it was actually forced to relinquish the lease on the land. And do you know who took over control of the property in 1959? The Civil Air Patrol. Yeah, so for a while, the Civil Air Patrol owned VIR.
All right, then. I mean, that backstretch is long enough if you really wanted to land a plane on it. It's just a little too hilly, probably. Okay, as we watch from on board now with Jeff Williams once again. Holland able to pull away, and, well, look in his rear view camera there. That's Peter Yurtsa. He's going to try and get involved in this. And this is a driver out of position. Started in 5th place, now sitting in 16th. Is this going to be easy pickings, or is this another track where the difficulty in overtaking will make it a headache of a race?
Indeed, it might. Let's see what Yerkes has got here to be able to challenge anything on. Remember, Yerkes had a little bit of an off around the outside in the beginning of the race. He's on a bit of a recovery drive right now, trying to gain back in.
So Holland getting close. It looks like Williams tries to get up underneath him, but can't quite do so. A little bit of blinking from him. Yurtsa very good on the binders into these last few corners. We jump on board with the 54 machine. Here we go again, up the main straight. Excellent run. And I believe Williams is going to be under threat. Does he cover it off? Looks like the 517 is taking the inside line, but he drifts back, leaves the door open. Yurtsa tries to cross the threshold, but he cannot do it.
No, he can't. Not able to get it done quite there yet, but Yurtsa certainly has the speed. He's trying to work it the best he can.
Williams says no solicitors today and will retain that 15th position. In fact, well, he's maybe trying to move into the house next door. That's Holland, who is under threat yet again as he gets mighty close behind him through the snake and now towards the climbing S's. We watch from Peter Yurtsa once again.
Yes, he's just trying to gain back in. He is going to be a little bit helped here. Remember, because Williams is trying to close in on Holland in front of them, he can hope for a little bit of a battle developing between those two and really be able to take advantage. Maybe even go for a 2-for-1. That's exactly what he wants there. You see it. Williams trying to close in on the back of Holland, and that put him back into the clutches of Peter Ursa.
So the battle is on. Up the hill they climb towards the roller coaster. Holland in the bright highlighter green machine you see at the front. The yellow and black belonging to Williams. The white car belonging to Ursa. And unfortunately, nobody able to try and attack this time. Into the corner, a little bit off the apex from Jeff Williams. And that sets him on the back foot. Here comes Peter once again.
Indeed, he's going to try it now. Let's see if he can maybe get a little bit of a run here coming through Hogpen down onto that straightaway. Let's see what he's got.
Well, that was an interesting little song from DJ as we come down into Horseshoe. And it looks like Ursa is going to still have to get closer than that if he wants to make this pass done. With the speed that we saw from the 54, I'm a little bit surprised that it's taking him this long to try and even just attack. We haven't seen him get up close yet. Way wide around NASCAR Bend for Holland.
Yes, indeed. I am a little bit surprised by that, and I apologize for the sing-songy nature of my voice, Joe. I have been listening to a lot of musical theater lately, so that may explain some of it.
Well, I know you're a theater person, so I just always kind of assume that's the blame as we come out of the snake once again. And Holland is getting himself a bit of a distance between he and Williams. Not missing anything. Oh! We just saw a big off from Williams. And that's going to be a cut course unless he tries to come all the way back, which... no, is he changing his mind? No, he's going to come back to the proper racetrack, knowing otherwise he'll have to be given a drive-through by the sim. But Jeff Williams demonstrating what I keep talking about. The runoff in the grass just sends you miles off of the pavement.
Yeah, it really does, and you can see it there. It was all set up by the fact that he just got a little bit squirrely coming up through the rising snake, missed a little bit of those corners, and that just set him off on a one-way ticket.
Good thing he didn't keep going. He actually could have flown into traffic there for a second, and that would have been a weird surprise for the drivers coming at full tilt down that back straightaway. I was just about to mention Doherty, and now we finally come back to him. Like I was saying, haven't missed a whole lot. Still about 7-8 tenths behind Mark Harris, and has been staying at this far back. I'm wondering if he'll have much for him at this stage. Coming on to the backstretch, he does cut it back down to about 4 tenths, so that was a decent run.
Yeah, pretty good run there for him as he works his way closer. I think he's just trying to bide his time a little bit, Joe. You know, we're just over halfway in the race here as they go along. And, Joe, something to point out here. We talked a little bit earlier about how clean this race has been. Top 6, 0 incidents.
Wow. I mean, the 12 earlier was phenomenal. And even now that we're this far into the race, that's even better. But we're going to keep an eye on these two for a little bit, but that's because it's time to bring you the Midway Race Report, brought to you by Pirelli. Pirelli was founded in Milan in 1872 and is a global brand known for its cutting-edge technology, high-end production, excellence, and passion for innovation that draws heavily on its Italian roots. Pirelli is among the world's major producers of tires and is an OEM supplier to Porsche. Find more about Pirelli at Pirelli.com. Rachel?
Yeah, thank you very much. Of course, we are now going to our midway report, which means taking a look at our leader right now, Mark Harris. The 981 Kessel Valley region driver is definitely putting it in today. He started first today, he's running today first, and my cat is eating out of my cereal bowl. This is awkward. Second place is going to be Thomas Doherty, the Central Indiana region driver from Zone 4 in that 50 machine. Started second, also running second today. Look at that, sim rig bouncing around. It's going to be a little distracting. And third, also started third, there's a trend here. The first up is region driver Trey Davis from Zone 2 in that 270 machine. Absolutely pushing right now. He is 3 seconds drift, your two leaders though. Fourth place is Keith Morgan, who also started fourth. This is really consistent in my last race. Central Indiana region as well. The 700 driver from Zone 4 is pushing onwards here, but he also is kind of about 4 seconds drift of third. Fifth is Daniel Florian, the first of our movers, up one from sixth on the grid. The Wilderness Trail region driver from zone number 3. In that 11 machine, like I mentioned, up one, and he's trying his best to catch Keith Morgan. Sixth is Ben Leung, the Upper Canada region driver of zone 1. In that 290 machine, Leung is up 3 from 9th on the grid so far. Up 4 from 11th is Carl Boccieri. Got his sim rig view there as I'm pretty sure it's a motion rig, I think, or he's just in an earthquake, one of the two. The 90 driver from the Metropolitan New York region is up, like we said, 4 places. 8th place is Jason Brodigan, the Maverick region driver in the 14 car. He is up 5 spots from 13th. Lanray Sarumi in the 18 car, the Chicago region driver, not deep dish, but race car, is up in the 8th place right now. Sorry, 9th place, I should say, down 1 from 8th. Adam Gerling, the Metropolitan New York region driver from zone 1 in the 10 car, the 248 chasing down him. Those two actually gaining time right now, and it's going to be the great debate between New York Pizza and Chicago Deep Dish. New York is better. 11th is Avjit Barua from the Mid-Ohio region of zone 4. Barua is up 8 places from 19th on the grid. One of our big movers so far there. The 12th spot here, up from 3 places, up from 15th, is Will Mungia, the Peach State region driver from zone 3. In that 907 Porsche, trying to fend off the man behind him, who is Antonio De Silva. We have the moody film noir art school project camera angle there with these one single light source. I don't know, it's actually quite moody. It's almost I could feel you could put that picture in an art gallery and just sell it. But from Metropolitan New York region, zone 1, the 24 car, working its way forwards. 14th place here, Peter Yuxa from Down East region of zone 1. The 54 car is definitely trying to get things done tonight. Unfortunately, he is down from 5th on the grid. 15th is Adam Holland, the Upper Canada region driver of zone 1. And the 144 car there with his number very, very big on that car. Wow, that is a huge number. It's almost like he wants to make sure we know it's him. And why not? He's up 9 places from 26th on the grid. Taylor, take away the rest while I separate my cat from my food.
Well, as we hopefully won't have any more incidents right there, Valacinho will be in the 16th position from the Hill Country region, having a little bit of a quiet night after starting in 18th position. Moving on down to P17, he was going a little bit off-roading, but the Rocky Mountain region driver of Jeff Williams was able to get it back out on the track and runs in the 17th position after gaining 3 spots from starting 20th. 18th position is Robert Walton from the Maverick region. Robert started in 22nd, has moved up a few spots, has had a couple of troubles out there on the track, but will continue to press forward. Tom Crane in his very futuristic, highly upgradable sleek. You see actually the entire rig is moving. Kind of want to see what he does going down the area of the roller coaster with that camera right quick. But as he does that, he is running in that 19th position after starting in 25th. The Mardi Gras, look at that. Just absolutely just swerving, trying to hold it on there. He's going for definitely a major roller coaster ride as he comes through Hogpen. Just leans to the side and makes a beautiful exit out of there. But as we move on down through the field, we go to 20th position of Benjamin Fong from the recent Total region. He started in 30th position. He's been safe. He's gained 10 spots, and there he is back at it again here with his triple screens. 21st is in the art car, Ryan Rapalos, who is trying to work his way through. The recent Total region driver has had a little bit of a quiet night after starting 17th. In 22nd is Dean Chapman, has lost 10 spots here for the night from the northern New Jersey region. As we see his cat machine moving through. Hopefully Rachel did not scare the cat that he was trying to eat out of her cereal bowl like that cat is on the side of his Porsche. Moving on to 23rd, the northeast region of Bob Moore. He's on his motion rig right now, and it is jostling all over the place as he's trying to hang on. He currently runs 23rd, but the northeast region driver is having the time of his life after gaining no positions nor losing. He's your first car, 1 lap down. 24th is Volker Krebs. He suffered a couple of penalties, but is back out on the track. The Canada West driver in the Haribo machine is definitely showing what he can do as he tries to gain some time on the field. 25th is David Snelling in the Hawaiian Tropics Porsche. Very old school livery, I would have to say, as he works his way through. Keep an eye on him. He is also one lap down. 26 is Ryan Mcgee from the Nordstern region. Ryan having a little bit of a quiet night in his Porsche after starting in 28th. 27th is Ronald Simon from the Upper Canada region in his beautifully painted livery, working his way through. And as he does that, he has gained no position, still one lap down. 28th is Stephen Jacoby from the Lone Star region. He has lost 7 spots after starting 21st, running 2 laps down, not having the best of nights. 29th is the 444 of Edward Trippett from the Nordstern region, also now not having the best of nights as he is now running 3 laps down, hasn't gained or lost. And Arnie Clayson is out of the race, started 10th, running 30th, or is going to finish 30th, multiple laps down.
This concludes tonight's Midway Race Report, brought to you by Pirelli. Big thanks to them, as well as a thanks to Rachel and Taylor, who took us through the fields. Yeah, 1 DNF out of everybody compared to multiple ones last time through. As we watch from the P2 position of Doherty, who has been getting close to Mark Harris. Let's stick with this while we head to Taylor one more time for our trivia question of the day. And there was a big off there for Mark Harris. That looks scary, but it doesn't seem like he's lost enough time for Doherty to try and gain. Sorry about that, Taylor. I thought maybe we had a developing position change for the lead. What's our trivia today?
Well, it's going a little bit of television, actually. And VIR has had some very big names to come to this track. I mean, when Reba McIntyre with her son racing in IMSA back in 2012, even Patrick Dempsey having a chance to race at this circuit. But what television show in 2010 filmed a very special episode regarding this amazing circuit? And that's what we're looking for, is the show that made an episode dedicated to this track.
Is it Phineas and Ferb?
No, it's not Phineas and Ferb. But A for effort, though. I'll give you an A for effort, though.
Is it the West Wing?
Now you just get a big F, DJ, on that.
I would like to see that episode. Is right now Thomas Doherty is fully focused on the racing, and he is gaining back once again on Mark Harris. This has been a pressure cooker. And what happened last time we had that pressure cooker in the previous race? Well, the leader went off and allowed second place through. So will Mark Harris be able to keep from committing the same mistakes out here as he comes up into NASCAR Bend one more time? 0.3 of a second between the 981 and the 59.
Indeed. We'll have to see if they're able to hold it on here for these last 12 minutes or so. Doherty doing a good job to provide pressure. Loses a little bit of ground there coming through that second part. They're trying to get around. Nothing doing there quite yet.
Up and over the curbs, through the climbing S's, all on their own, too, I have to say. Even though they've lapped a number of cars, they're kind of just running their own race. Trey Davis a distant 5.5 seconds behind them, so they're not really under any threat. This is down in P6 with Ben Leung, who is trying to catch up to Florian. He is up 1 spot from the start. Leung up 3 positions, trying to make this a foursome for himself. And as he comes out of the Oak Tree Bend, let's see if this is a good enough exit. Doesn't quite look like it to me.
Yeah, I don't think he's quite got the jump that he would like. The gap's holding at about 0.7 of a second right now, and that's not nearly enough to get going up into roller coaster the way I think Ben would like it to.
Well, and I hear the sirens blaring. We've got a winner, it sounds like. Taylor, what was the answer?
Well, it was, of course, Top Gear, the BBC world-famous show that has been branched out to many other areas around the world. Top Gear, the original one in 2010, filmed an episode at this circuit, and it was an amazing episode, I do have to say.
I did not know they actually came over here. When you said that, I thought you were going to say it was the American one that came here and dedicated. But that is something else, that the original Top Gear came and shot one here at this fabled track. And as they weave through the left hook once again, Doherty is not letting up on Mark Harris, making sure that he knows he is still in that mirror. With that bright white car, I'm sure that Mark has not forgotten.
No, I'm sure he hasn't either, and that is one of the things about running a pretty distinct livery around here, Joe, or any circuit that is you kind of get to play a little bit of the mental mind games when the driver's in front of you. Ooh, very close there for Doherty.
Yeah, Benjamin Fong had an off and thankfully saw the leaders coming and didn't come back onto the track, but you could see how much it scared both of them as both Harris and Doherty stayed off to the right-hand side just to keep themselves safe. Another lapped car. Harris is going to get him, but it doesn't look like Ronald's going to lift enough for Thomas to get through. The 6 is going to separate them, and he's looking a little slow here through these corners.
Oh, that is not good. That gap already getting upwards of near a second at this point. Now Doherty's going to be able to get by. Rest assured, I think Thomas is not going to be happy about that.
All part and parcel of the game here. You got to manage the traffic well. Sometimes it just does not work out for you. But so far it seems like Doherty's been able to keep the pace. So I wonder if they'll be able to reel him back in. We still got 8 minutes to go. So plenty of time as we come to De Silva on your screen, chasing Yurtza, and I believe that was reversed when we were watching this fight earlier.
Yeah, indeed. Yurtza has been able to get up on by and up into 12th. Remember, Peter is on a recovery drive around here. He was one of the drivers that slipped up on that opening lap and found himself pointed the wrong way.
Breaking that green and black 24 into the roller coaster, and a beautiful line through that right-hander for him, but he's got to get closer than this 1.1 seconds to actually try and attack the 54 in front of him. Still have all 29 cars that we mentioned through the fields out on track. I haven't seen any incidents since then. This is a little farther down towards that. Some of our lapped cars. Krebs chasing Bob Moore.
Yeah, Volker trying to work his way up through the field as well. Volker down 8 positions on his starting spot. He's currently in 24th. Ooh, we've got another car off. It looked like Ronald Simeon there off in the mid-pack. He has a lap car. That's actually who they just blew by right now.
Yeah, remember that was the one that interfered with the leaders battle just briefly. Ron having some trouble out there today, and this is a fantastic exit out of Oak Tree for Volker. Remember, he had a black flag. Recovery drive from the 53, and looks like the Haribo machine will not get into a sticky situation this time. He is clear by the roller coaster.
Yes, he is. So there he is on up and through. Volker Krebs doing a good job to get himself up forward.
Next on his list, Ben Fong, about 6 seconds up the road. Ben recently with his own off track himself. And Bob Moore just allowing Jason Brodigan by, who is a lapper, as we come back to Ben Leon now. He's got Daniel Florian just in front of him as they come through the horseshoe. Track weaves back. Left-hand kink into NASCAR bends. Both of them looking about even on this one. The Brumos livery car just making sure to keep the 11 honest.
Yeah, just trying to see if he can put a little bit of pressure there to him. Ben's been doing a good job here. Their lap times, they've fluctuated back and forth a little bit, but Joe, their fastest laps between Florian and Leon only off by 0.02 of a second.
Wow. Yeah, that is pretty evenly matched. And Boy, some of these angles really show you how much direction change the cars have to do around this course. There's a lot of open area where you can just watch them keep going and going, such as here, past the oak tree and accelerating their way up the hill. They start picking up speed, getting themselves all the way up to nearly 145 miles an hour, 150 before they start to brake. Ben not close enough this time. Florian holds him back, but Ben gains a number of car lengths as they hit the brakes.
Yeah, he's able to close in there a little bit. It looks like Ben may be a little bit more confident on the binders there. That could play a little bit of difference. And now they've got Ben Fong right up ahead of them. And that is going to be Florian able to get by him. He's going to pull off to the side there and now let Leon by as well.
So no interruption for the battle. They carry on, but it does seem that through Hogpen, Ben Leon is going to lose a little bit of time. It's back up to 1.1 seconds now. Not missing anything up at the front. Harris still leads Doherty, and it's actually at 1.7 seconds. I think that is extended since we last looked at it. And here we've got some side-by-side action, or is this a lapped car here? And that was Holland, who just got passed by Val Asensio. We're going to take a look at the livery on here, and some of the cones have stuck around from Auto Club.
He's got a cone friend there, Joe. I love it.
So, yeah, that was a pass for position. Val into 14th over Holland into the roller coaster. I heard Val actually say that that was not her intent, so not sure if she just braked a little too deep, but regardless, the result seems to have gone in her favor because she's starting to pull away, so I'd say that wound up being a good thing for the 044.
Yeah, I think that definitely did help that out a little bit more there. Continue to ride with Ben, looking better under braking as they work their way around here. But again, Florian just able to extend a little bit once they get to the speeding up sections. Yes, that is a technical term.
The round things on the cars that touch the track, you know? Anyways, as we watch them come down into the horseshoe yet again, Florian still retaining that top 5, only has to do so for a little less than 3 more minutes. Where is Harris actually right now? I think he might actually get the white flag next time by, will he?
I'm looking at the numbers and where he is. I think
he'll be close.
Might, yeah.
Here he is on screen right now. It's, oh my goodness, it's up to 2.5 seconds. What has separated them this much? Is this all down to traffic for the 59? Has he just not had the skill in trying to overtake, or the luck even potentially, the way that Mark Harris has dealt with it? I can't imagine this is pace because he held on to the back of him for so long.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but he just looks like he's streaking away.
So as we come back to Keith Morgan, we've got one last little tidbit before we hit the checkered flag today from Rachel. Rachel, what have you got?
Absolutely, and this is a bit of a girl power one actually, because we mentioned earlier that Harvey Siegel and Connie Nyholm actually opened this place after it had been idle for 25 years. In fact, it was farmland. Siegel retired in 2013, meaning Nyholm became one of the only female owners of a racetrack in the United States. In fact, under her tutelage, VIR has actually reached critical acclaim as a world-class race circuit, so go Connie.
Yeah, I'd say it definitely has raised its profile under her watch, and looks like under the watch of Ben Leon chasing Florian. He is going to try around the outside, coming into the horseshoe, down into the first corner, out braking him. Leon covers off that apex, and it'll have to be another one a little later for that number 290. And Harris is on the run to the climbing S's. Yes, indeed, this is the final lap. White flag has flown for the 981.
Yes, it is indeed, and now he has been able to stretch that gap out to about 4.5 seconds, so just a quick almost coast around here, or at least as good of a coast as you can around VIR.
I'm starting to wonder if maybe Doherty is short on fuel. Did he not put enough in it because he's been caught by Trey Davis as well? The pace looks atrocious. We'll have to watch out for that. It's down to 1.8 seconds between P2 and P3. But for Mark Harris, this is a welcome sight. Nobody in his mirrors to the finish line as he can finally relax for a moment and soak up the victory in front of him. As he comes out of Hogpen, the 981 is going to take the win from the pole after he had to fight hard for it. A win in VIR for Mark Harris.
Indeed, Thomas Doherty is now coming in and across the line as well. We jump back to that battle we were following between Ben Leong and Daniel Florian. Let's see if he's got anything. I don't think he does, and indeed they're going to cross over the line. That will be Florian 5th and Leong 6th.
Sarumi about 1.2 seconds behind Brodigan, so he's not going to be able to get that 7th place. Looks like things could be close between the 907 and Peter Yurtsa. Can Will keep this 11th spot here? Has to keep it on the track. Easier said than done through these last downhill corners.
Yes, it is. Let's see if he can do it again, holding on to some heavy pressure coming down through Hog's Pen right now. It looks like he's going to be able to keep it.
Indeed, and it looks like the last of our battles have pretty much petered out. Not many drivers close, as 19 of them are going to finish on the lead lap. And that is out of 30 starters with, I'm pretty certain, 29 finishers. I don't think we had any other DNFs. But let's go through our finishing order as Mark Harris took the victory. And Doherty did not run out of fuel. Apparently that was a fixed fuel from the start. Still a strange loss of pace that we're trying to suss out what exactly caused that. Trey Davis started from 3rd and finished in 3rd. In fact, the podium all the way down to 4th, finished exactly where they began this race. Keith Morgan, the one just off the podium there. Daniel Florian, 5th, despite immense pressure from Leong, who finished P6. Brodigan up from 13th on the grid to a 7th place finish. Sarumi was 8th, and Gerling finished in 9th. Then it was Boccieri rounding out your top 10.
In 11th, it was Will Mungia, followed by Peter Yurtsa. Yurtsa unable to close that gap, followed by Antonio De Silva and Val Asinio. Adam Holland was 15th, followed by Abhijit Barua with Jeff Williams in 17th and Robert Walton in 18th. Ryan Rapolis was 19th, and Dean Chapman came home in 20th, one lap down.
Tom Kane, despite his impressive setup, unfortunately finished a lap down in 21st, but it was still a gain for him. He was up 4 positions. Fong did even better, 30th to 22nd, 8 spots up after failing to qualify. 23rd to 23rd for Bob Moore, with David Snelling finished 24th, and Volker Krebs, last one lap down in 25th. Ryan Mcgee was 26th, 2 laps down. Simone in 27th, Trippe 28th, Jacoby 29th, Clayson 30th, and Balistrieri was a did not start here today. Checking to see if we've got anybody to talk to. It looks like they're finally getting ready to celebrate, so we'll let them sort themselves out. And DJ, I love seeing the differences between some of these races, and man, that was a difference between those 2 races. We went from utter chaos to a pretty cool collected race, still with some fantastic battles.
Yeah, indeed. This is more of a little bit what I expected to see around VIR, truthfully, Joe, is a lot of those close battles coming out and a lot of pressure being put on. Not as many incidents as we saw in this first one, and we hope it can continue on from here.
And I think, don't have anybody quite ready yet. So we will get to our drivers in just a moment while we wait for them. And Looks like we do have one more race coming up tomorrow, though not today, but make sure and tune in because we've got the Auto Club Oval for our entry class tomorrow. In the meantime, we have our second place finisher, Tom Doherty, with us. So maybe Tom can shed some light on what happened because, Tom, you were all over the back of Mark Harris for almost the entire race, and then suddenly you just dropped really quickly and finished about 5.5 seconds behind. What caused the lack of pace?
No, my pace was there. Just caught lap traffic, and he got around the car easily, and I had to follow a very slow car for a period of time, and I dropped down 2 seconds, and I knew I couldn't make it up. I was on his bumper most of the race, and I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed racing with Mark and everybody. I just wanted. I will tell you this: I have 0 incidents. I don't know. I'm kind of pleased with that. I raced clean. I didn't hit him. I didn't take him out. I didn't tap him. I didn't dive bomb him. I raced him respectfully, and he earned controlling the race by having the pole. I just missed out on the pole.
Yeah,
I think if I would have got by him, I think I would have pulled away.
There's always the what ifs in racing.
Absolutely.
You said you enjoyed it. Do you thrive in those sort of pressure situations where the tension is high?
Well, it was intense. It would have been probably more intense if I would have been Mark. I don't know if I could have handled the pressure I was giving Mark. If I was in Mark's shoes, it's a lot harder watching the rearview mirror because I was a lot of times just 3/10, 2/10 behind him through some fast spots. But yeah, I'm sweating profusely and keeping my concentration was difficult, but I am glad to bring the second place in.
Yeah, and we got some viewers apparently that want to see your beautiful face on screen. What if you could give us a little hello there into the camera? There we go. And after that, we go to a track that isn't as long, but also pretty punishing, like we see here with VIR. Oulton Park. Have you raced that one yet?
Yeah, but unfortunately, I'm going to miss that. I stupidly scheduled a quick trip Wednesday, Thursday. I should have done it Thursday, Friday. So that will be my drop race, which, that's what stings about the Nurburgring because I was up there in third and got an unfortunate little tap in the first lap and wasn't able to battle with Mark and Mr. Morgan, but all good, all exciting. I'm doing way better than I expected in season 7 compared to season 6 being my first. And I didn't do as well in 6. I got frustrated, but I spent some time thinking about it and working on it. And I'm very pleased, very pleased.
I think you should be. That was a race to be proud of, the way that you kept Mark honest. Thank you for talking to us, and thank you for the onboard feed. It was a lot of fun to watch that battle all race long. Anybody you want to thank before you take off?
I want to thank you guys. I want to thank the PCA Sim volunteers and the guys that come out with the training, and again my lovely wife Mimi Doherty, who knows that Wednesday nights from 8 till 11:30 p.m. Eastern, I'm doing this and go keep the dogs calm and I have my little space here for that 3.5 hours. So, Mimi Doherty, thank you, hon.
I love that. Well, give the dog some head pats from me. And that was our second place finisher, Thomas Doherty, in the 59 machine. DJ, in the meantime, has caught up with third place finisher, maybe getting himself up onto second.
Yeah, Trey, it looked like there at the end you may have a little bit of a hope, but for the most of the race, you were kind of off in a little bit of an island of your own there.
Yeah, it was kind of that way. I just tried to stay with them and caught some lap traffic about midway through at the wrong time and then just drove the tires off of it trying to catch back up.
Well, how were the tires out there? We were a little bit concerned in the previous race that it was a bit cooler, but it warmed up here. Was that a main consideration for throughout the race?
Yeah, at least for me, of course, I was probably overdriving a little bit. Tires were going away fairly well towards the end. But the first half of the race, they were fantastic.
Well, all right. Then anybody you want to thank here for a pretty solid third place at a very tricky track?
Yeah. I want to thank the guys here, with PCA for putting this on, for what you guys do. And most of all, I want to thank the wife and kids for putting up with this sometimes expensive habit that I have.
That is always the thing to be thankful for. It is. Thank you so much, Trey. That was Trey Davis, your third place finisher here today. Joe?
And we also have our winner. Taylor has caught up with Mark Harris, who soaked it all up and came away with the win.
Mark, a great job here for you today, coming home with a strong finish with the victory at Virginia International Raceway. Your thoughts on how your race was trying to manage the track as well as keeping the gap between you and the other competitors?
Yeah, I think it was all one on pole position, actually. So, if you don't make a mistake in this track, it's very difficult for the guy behind you to get by. Well, I made a bunch of little mistakes. I didn't make one large enough for time to get by at all, and that's what won me the race, I think.
Well, as we move, go ahead, Mark.
He was very quick today, for sure. I mean, if he got by me, that would have been it. He would have had the race for sure.
Do you feel like if given the opportunity, he will be one that, maybe not for the next rounds, but for other rounds, that he will be one to battle with you for the championship or even for the next few race wins?
Absolutely. Well, very quick.
Speaking of that, Oulton Park is the next track on the schedule for you guys. Your thoughts on going back overseas to the famous British track?
Well, it's one that I've not driven a whole lot, so my thoughts are doing a lot of practice. I mean, I'm not familiar with that track much at all, to tell you the truth.
Well, before we let you go, Mark, anyone you'd like to say thank you to?
Well, Tom, for a great race. I mean, he was very, very good, and didn't hit me or anything like that, which was awesome. We had a great, tight race. Absolutely, the steering committee in the PCA, as well as the EDEs. I mean, everybody in the PCA has been great, and all the guys in the track have been great as well. It's been a good time.
That is Mark Harris, your race winner here today. Joe?
Thank you.
Which, of course, is going to wrap us up here. But as we mentioned earlier, you need to tune in tomorrow for the PCA entry class at 9 p.m. However, we'll see you next time at VIR for the pro and club classes. It all kicks off at 9 p.m. Eastern on Friday, November 5th, live here on Podium Esports. Thank you so much to our title sponsor, Hagerty, as well as the series sponsors, of course, Z1 Dashboard and Pirelli. A big thank you to the steering committee at PCA Sim Racing, and a huge thanks to our team tonight, DJ, Taylor, Rachel, Ryan, Eric, and Dougie. And none of this is possible without those behind the scenes at Podium Esports: James Pike, Gary Sexton, Cisco Scaramuza, and John Theodore. Thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast of PCA Sim Racing presented by Hagerty. I'm Joe Peak, and I'll see you on the track.